Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of the learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene.
Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 11. So unfortunately it's just me this week. Ben's away on a work trip and Anthony's got stuck with something. So yeah, it's just myself. This week we got really awesome guests on the podcast. So I'm sure it's going to be a great episode. But yeah, so what's been going on this week? Well, our co-host Anthony's got himself a new boat. So we've now nicknamed him Skippy, or Skip for short. But yeah, he's got himself a nice looking boat, and we're actually going on the maiden voyage tomorrow, I believe. So that's going to be really cool. I believe we're going on a bit of a scallop dive. So yeah, just to test it out and see what it's all about. It's really cool. My ear is actually feeling a lot better. So I've been given the correct medication this time. It's healing nicely, and I am actually contemplating competing in the nationals on Saturday. So yeah, you'll probably see some social media posts before this episode goes live anyway. But yeah, I shall be competing. And one other thing to mention is our good friend that we had on one of the episodes, Sam Seeley. He's actually left us a voice recording, so I'm just going to play that for you now.
Hi there, my name's Sam, and most of you know me as the Bearded Spearo. You may have heard I'm running lobster and hole hunting courses from the months of October all the way through to April this winter. These months are perfect for hunting lobster. With limited dates and spots filling up very quickly, you wouldn't want to miss this. This course has been specifically designed for beginners to the most experienced Spearos. With a dedicated coach guiding and teaching every step of the way, you'll be extracting lobsters in no time at all. If you would like to know more about prices, dates or what's on offer, or you'd like to book in, then please get in contact with me on Instagram by searching Bearded Spearo or message me on Facebook. If you haven't already, go take a listen to episode 3 where me and the lads, we all talk about all things foraging and to get a small taste of what's on offer. Look forward to hearing from you. See you soon. Dive safe.
So as you just heard with Sam's recording there, Sam's going to be running the lobster foraging courses throughout the winter. Sam's invited us three out to go and experience this with him. So we'll be doing that some point in November. And yeah, we're really stoked to get there and try it out and see what it's all about, and you know, let you guys know how we got on. So we're really looking forward to that. And I think if anyone, you know, wants to keep their fitness up throughout the winter and wants to keep diving, then definitely give Sam a shout. Get on the course, learn what you need to look for, and then just get out there all winter getting lobsters and crab. We got Josh Halloway, who's Souls Untapped, on this episode. He's an absolute legend of a guy. Got some crazy stories. Josh has got a YouTube channel with a good amount of following as well, and it's just growing and growing and growing. This has got some crazy videos on YouTube. You know, one of his videos where he went to the most northerly tip of the UK. He went out there with Arian from Spearfishing Sky, and they did some crazy diving over there and shot some epic fish. So it's definitely worth checking his YouTube channel out. Yeah, Josh has dived commercially over in New Zealand, as well as spearfishing over there as well. So he's got some cool stories about that. And yeah, he's just to match his persona, he's got an absolute epic tash just to match his adventurous lifestyle. Josh is an absolute legend of a guy. He does some really cool content. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Hey Josh, how's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's just me for the minute while we wait for Anthony to get his arse in gear. So Josh, do you want to just jump into and kick us off and just tell us who you are and what you're about?
So I'm Josh Halley. You might have seen me doing some stupid stuff on social media called Souls Untapped. I'm diving up in Shetland Islands, the most northerly point in the UK, as well as trying to escape the island whenever I can and meet everybody else around the UK and shoot
nice
something other than pollock a lot of the time.
Yeah, so obviously you're based up in Shetland. So what's spearfishing like up in Shetland then?
When I first came up here, I was never seen a fish, and then I went away for a year and I'd done my whole New Zealand stint and stuff. And when I came back, I still struggled, and then went to one dive spot and I was like, you know what, it looks pretty good here. soon as I went in there, I was shooting like 7 pound pollock in 8 meters of water. I'm like, holy shit, you know what? There is fish here. And
Nice.
that kind of just, boosted me. I was like, there's fish here. It's go time. And ever since then, I've just been basically kind of pushing the limits, finding new locations, finding, what other fish I can shoot. And I must admit, it's not easy spearfishing up here a lot of the time. A lot,
Right.
like your pollock and stuff you can find in certain locations. Sometimes they're deep, sometimes you get lucky in a perfect reef and it's nice and shallow.
Yeah.
But all the other species, your ling, your cod, I mean your haddock, you're talking they're easy 30 meters up here. And they've only just actually come back in the last 2 years. They've disappeared for 20 years apparently, speaking
really?
to the local boys. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So trying to target all those species is a lot more difficult. I've been having a go at the big saithe or the coalfish.
Yeah.
And in the north of Shetland, they get big, and that's what I've been after. But it's just a different kettle of fish diving up here.
So what?
And unfortunately, it's usually just me.
Yeah. So what? Why do you think it is that you didn't see fish before, and then all of a sudden you are?
Just learning, like those extra couple years or diving with those different people and learning that extra bit taught me a lot more. Different habitats, how fish, where they're going to be, and it's now I've learned a lot more. I'm putting it to use. Like I know if I go to one bit of ground, I'll be like, I'm not going to shoot a pollock here. I know that. I'll not waste my time.
Yeah.
I'll go find another bit, and it's finding those little havens or learning the reef or seeing what you see and put it into use, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
And once you see the fish, you're kind of like, well, they're here. It's not just like there's no fish in Shetland. They're here.
Yeah.
Now you have to learn to find them.
Yeah, it's like it just depends on your area and your situation, doesn't it? I mean, we were talking about this before in the previous podcast about once you start looking for those fish and you start seeing them and you start learning their environments and their habits and everything else, and that's when you start picking them up, don't you? And obviously, some newbies struggle with that, but that's really cool. And what about the ling then? So what's making them come back then?
I mean, it's the haddock that are coming back. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, the haddock. Sorry, yeah.
So the only time I've caught haddock is when I go out my paddleboard with a rucksack full of beers and some music, and sit on there in the sunset with a hand line. And that was during the end of COVID. That's what I did instead of going to the pubs that had just reopened.
Yeah.
But I spoke to a lot of the fishermen, and they said, in the last 2 years they've seen so much haddock, but in the last 20 years they've not had anything, and now they're catching them 4 pounds, 5 pounds, decent sized fish. Yeah. So it's what's changed. We have a lot of fishing vessels up here. We used to have a lot of Spanish, French boats and everything coming up to Shetland.
Really? Yeah.
We don't have that anymore, so maybe that's something to do with it. But
right,
a good sign if these sorts of fish are coming back, then.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we've had a lot of like odd fish that have just all of a sudden turned up this year down here. Which you might see maybe the odd one every now and then, but we've had quite a few signs of different fish, which is it's cool to see, but it also makes you question why that's happening. Is it good? Is it bad? And like it might not be a good thing, but that's something to think about. So you were saying earlier to me before we start recording that you for work you commercially dive,
yeah. So I dive basically for work, for anything construction, ship husbandry, so that's cleaning, taking ropes out of propellers. I do a lot of fish farm work. It's pretty nasty work, but at the end of the day it's what pays my bills. So I always have a lot of bother of I'm in the water every day of the week. And my passion is to go out spearfishing or be on the water somehow. So like I said at the start of this, my sinuses get a hammering and stuff like that. Pretty hard going, but it also, because I'm in the water so much, I think it definitely helps in the spearfishing and the free diving side of thing. Like, because I just feel semi-aquatic a lot of the time, because sometimes I'll spend 3 hours underwater a day. Like, it's pretty ridiculous.
So like, I mean, for me, it's difficult to say, because if you spend so much time in the water, you almost don't, well, I say don't get that urge, you do, but like I find if I don't go in the water for ages, I'm frothing to get in sooner than later. Do you still
Yeah.
find you got that passion even though you're in the water every day?
Yeah, especially at the minute that all the fish are out, and it's hunting those weather windows. Like now it's perfect fish season, but it's getting to the point where you're having to find the weather windows.
Yeah.
So like after work today, I finished work a bit earlier and it was flat calm. Now my body needs a break, I know it does, so I'm trying to rest my sinuses, but then I'm in my head like, get the Thundercat out, let's get on the sea, and see if we can shoot some fish. I'm like, no. And it's nice to still have that froth for going out, but sometimes it is hard, when you do spend every day in the water.
Yeah,
but you need to make sure you kind of keep that passion up, because I don't want to lose it, if you know what I mean. I don't think I'll ever lose it, to be honest. But
yeah, and you said earlier that you were over in New Zealand as well. So were you spearfishing there? Were you just diving commercially?
So yeah, I ended up living with a family called the Herberts, and they're some of the best spearfishermen in Shetland. I don't know if people keep up to their competitions and stuff. And the Herberts, so the son was Dwayne Herbert, and he dives for New Zealand a lot of the time. He's one of the one of the biggest names out there. And I found myself in their house doing sea urchin diving for them. I'm like, what have I got myself into? And basically, they've got a sea urchin company, and they'll go out and they harvest sea urchins and sell them to the food industry. So it wasn't necessarily spearfishing, even though I was with probably one of the great spearfishing families in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So we'd go out and we'd do, it was maybe 3-4 days a week, and you're collecting 2.5 to 3 tons of sea urchin a day. And there's 3 divers, and then 1 boatie. And a good day was 4 hours in the water, a bad day was 7 hours. Because you want the good quality sea urchin, you want the good, the good roe that's inside it.
Yeah.
And like a good day, 4 hours, it's because they're everywhere and you could just click them up and they're all good. So let's just bounce. And then you've got plenty of energy to go spearfishing afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a baptism of fire, because I had to get good quick. Diving with some of the best divers out there, where like they're filling a whole bag up in one dive, and you're talking they're down there for 2 minutes, and that's one dive. Like, and they're filling the whole bag up, which is it's just nuts. And it's a working dive, so you're down there ripping these things off. But it was the stuff you're seeing. Like, we had sharks around us. I remember we were doing this big drop off once, collecting these sea urchins, and you'd start at the bottom and you'd work your way to the top, and they just fall into your little bag. And I remember turning around behind me, and I had like 30-40 kilo kingfish just like staring at me, and I'm like,
oh,
nice. Right now. Like we always kind of had this thing of do the job, spearfish afterwards, because you're actually there to do a job.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like that's a dream fish sitting right there. And like the one time they'll pretty much come and eat out your hand, and then you're working, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was something else, and that's what I mean. Like, being over there, it taught me so much, because I had so much water time. And that's something I'd say to beginners and newbies is get in the water. You're not going to learn spearfishing out the water.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And have you had any like gnarly shark experiences then doing that?
I had one out there where I actually seen the shark and started swimming with it, and in my head I was just like, why the hell am I swimming with a shark? And it wasn't big, it was just a bronze whaler. Right. But the stupid stories are the ones where they're just like, hey mate, we just had a mako shark around us. Like, what? It's like,
you didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was oblivious, and I was like, well, thanks, like. And he said another day it was like a blue shark came in, and they were all like not freaking out, but like, holy crap, we got a shark around us, guys. And there's just me oblivious, working away, like imagine I'd maybe need a new wetsuit if I turned around and look at that, because you just zoned out, you know what I mean? You're just doing a job.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's epic. I mean, that's like, some people's dream job, isn't it? Like, working in New Zealand and being able to spearfish and everything else. Not easy work by any means, I'm sure.
The trouble I had was, because you're having to go in to do it as a job, it was kind of pushing the passion.
Yeah.
So like, you're in there, like, and I'm talking long hours. I was coming out with sores on my body, like you're in a wetsuit for pretty much the whole day. I didn't eat any food because I get bad stomach acid build up.
Right.
So pop a couple of pills, keep the stomach acid down, and
Yeah.
that was me. You know, I'd maybe drink plenty of water and have a granola bar or something.
Yeah.
But it was hard doing that every single day and then wanting to go spearfishing.
Yeah. No,
You know what I mean? And as soon as I was like, no, I don't have the energy to go spearfishing, I was like, ooh, you know, what am I doing? I always want to go spearfishing. Now I'm saying no in like the best place in the world. So
that's what I was saying earlier about like, where is it sort of, because you're in the water so much, does it become a chore? But I mean, yeah, it's
yeah,
difficult for everyone, isn't it? Especially like, some people can't get in the water for ages and then they lose that froth, or and it's just about keeping in touch with it somehow. And I find like this is why we started the podcast, because like being able to do the podcast just keeps some of our mates and everything in the loop and just keeps the froth going. And that's what it's all about,
Yeah, talking about it and listening to new people and what they've got to say and stuff like that. That's is what keeps the froth going.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on a bit then. So Souls Untapped, I see you're wearing your cap as well. It's quite a cool. It's quite a cool logo. So explain to everyone, what is Souls Untapped and what was the motivation behind it then?
So Souls Untapped kind of just came from, I started doing a few YouTube videos, and I've only ever done them for me really, as instead of looking through a photo album, I'm just like, I've got this footage, I'll make something I can just press play on the computer, or YouTube's a perfect platform to share to your family and your friends. So it started like that, and then as it started kicking off, I'm just like, well, I don't know if I just want my name behind it, you know what I mean? Like maybe a bit more professional. I was like, okay, I kind of want a brand name, and I actually spent ages with my mum just going through it, and I wanted something where like Souls Untapped is kind of like life, and Untapped is not yet discovered. So every time you go out in the sea or do something, you're finding something new. You're discovering something new, whether it's about yourself or about the area you dive in or a new fish or something. And it kind of just evolved from there really. And the thing is, now I just can't stop creating content. I love doing it, and I'm hoping I'm getting better and better as I go on really.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, obviously a lot of people out there might not know that you've got a YouTube channel, and it's doing pretty well, to be fair, by the looks of it.
It's went up pretty well.
Yeah, I watched your recent videos. You went out with Erin, that is over in the Isle of Skye, didn't you? You went up to the most northerly tip of the UK.
Yeah. So that's been a mission for ever since I've been in Shetland, basically. I want to, screw just diving along the shore there. I want to go to the most northerly point.
Yeah.
And if people are into their big rod line fishing and go around the UK doing it, they'll know what muckle flugger is. It's probably one of the best spearfishing locations in Scotland or maybe the UK. I'm not too sure. If you ask Gary, and he'll say it's 100% the best.
Yeah.
And you're talking, they're catching, 20-pound saithe. There was a 58-kilo cod caught a year and a bit ago, which was a new British record.
Wow. Okay.
And monster ling and all this, and I'm like, okay, so you've got all these fish up there. It's never been spearfished before. No one's free dived it. I was like, this got me written all over it. Like, I need some poor bugger to come along with me. I was like, hey, Aaron, you remember when you went fishing up at Muckle Flugger? He's like, yeah. I was like, you want to come dive it? And he's like, hell yeah. So he's like, I need a boat. So eventually I got my boat, and I was like, okay, let's just do it. So I got him up, and unfortunately we had a very, very small weather window. We got off the 12-hour ferry from Aberdeen to Lerwick, and then I was like, fuck, what do we do? We need to make a decision. And that was what made the decision for me. Was one of the fish farmers up there messaged me saying, if this is the day you want to do it, or if you want to do it, today's the day. I'm like, fuck, we've still got to go all the way up Shetland, get a ferry to another island, drive across that island, get another ferry, and then work out how we're going to get to Muckle Flugger. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it. So we just packed everything up, just threw it all in, roof tent to my pickup. So the pickup's pretty much ready to go and live out on.
Nice.
And by 3:00, we were up there, and we're like, right, it's go time. No matter what the weather would go in, and holy crap, man, as we were driving up to that island, it was just nuts. Hundreds of puffins and gannets everywhere.
Really? Yeah, that sounds epic, man.
We knew the dangers of it, and I'm not too scared of diving in tides and stuff. It's more just when you put a boat in that situation as well, and someone else in that situation, and that's
Yeah.
why I wanted Arian. I would have liked a few other people, but I didn't really have everyone to my disposal. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
dived plenty with Arian, and you want someone good behind your back in a location like that.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
despite not shooting the biggest coalfish in the world, we've still
Yeah.
done a good job of being up there and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's epic, man. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize how much goes into like making content like that. I mean,
Yeah,
like you said, multiple ferries and driving everywhere. It's just, people don't actually understand what goes into it. Even this like podcast itself, it's like, it's a love project,
yeah,
but it takes up so much of our time. It's ridiculous, but we do it because we love it. And that's, I guess,
yeah.
that's the same reason you set up Souls Untapped, is because you just want to get that content out there. You just want to share it with the community. And
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I still go by my values of I do this for me, like, because I love it, and it just so happens more people love it, and it gives me more motivation to go out there and do it. And then I'm just like, let's go a bit bigger, let's go here, let's do all that, and that's why I love getting it, basically.
Yeah, that's kind of, we always get a lot of questions from listeners when we have YouTubers on, or people who make a lot of content about like what cameras they use and everything else. I mean, what sort of camera setups are you using to make your YouTube videos?
I'm still just using GoPros.
Yeah, GoPro
I still
10s,
film.
or which one are you
Yeah, I
using?
just bought a GoPro 10,
Yeah,
a Hero 8, and a Hero 4. So
really? Yeah,
to be honest, the Hero 4 still goes strong. Usually put that
yeah,
on my mask, and smaller, it's lighter. For moving in the water, you can.
yeah,
I have it on 2.7K, so it's still good quality.
yeah.
I found recently I can't really use it for too much else because of the stabilization and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm using a Maverick drone as well, so they all
Nice.
come in pretty handy. But as trying to use any sort of camera in those locations, and the wind, rain, and it's honestly a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
When you go to that location and you want all this amazing film, but it's pissing with rain and your camera's fogged up or something like that, and that's stress. That's the stress of it, really.
Yeah, for sure, man. So like with a GoPro, what are you doing? Just a head strap then, or what? How you got
I
on
have
your
a
mask?
I've got a Cresty mask, which I've never really tried a head strap.
Right.
And I'm getting on well with the mask. I've kind of just stuck with that, really.
Yeah.
But it is a pain. Lines get caught in it. There's
Yeah.
drag and stuff if you pull your head up too fast in the water, and that's why I found using the smaller cameras better. And
Yeah. And I know a lot of people like just have different preferences, don't they? Like some will put on their guns, and some will put on the mask, and some will use head
yeah,
straps. So, and I ask these questions because we always get asked afterwards, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, we'll make sure we ask next time. So
yeah.
that's why I'm asking. But it's also interesting that you use a GoPro 4. So you don't need to spend like loads on the latest GoPro, do you? Like GoPro
Oh
4 will
no,
do perfectly
no,
fine.
definitely not. And everybody falls in that little trap, don't they? Oh, look at this advert. This camera's going to do this and this. And I
Yeah.
must admit, like, filming the Hero 10 on 4K, the footage is just insane. It does all the coloring better. It does all that. But at the end of the day, like, you can't. If you've got the laptop to edit that, then that's fine. But if you've not got the laptop to edit that, then you're going to struggle. You're going to be spending all this money on a camera that you're not going to use all the
Yeah.
capabilities. And I still don't. Like, it does so much more that I don't use.
Right.
Whereas the Hero 4 to me is just the old faithful, like, charge it up, press record,
Yeah.
go, on, off, on, off.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it always lasts an hour more, even when it says the battery's dead.
Really? Yeah. Cool, man.
And you have to do the trials, don't you? You always buy a camera, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I'm not really the camera expert between the three of us, to be honest. I just use like some cheap what's it called? Ape man camera or something, wherever it is. It's some sort of
I'm
cheap
not
thing
sure.
off
No.
eBay.
Yeah.
I'm going to look again at GoPro, but I'll probably do what you do and just get like a sort of older version, because I don't really fancy losing like a £500 camera in the sea.
Yeah. No, I mean, I actually lost my 10 when Arian was up here.
Really?
I always have it on my wrist, religiously, poof, on my wrist. And this one time I took it off to do a bit of filming. And then when my mate handed it back to me, I just let go like I normally do. It's on my wrist. Then I realized it wasn't on my wrist. And I'm like, fuck. and I looked down, and I knew it was around 10 meters deep,
Right.
and like the kelp was a meter and a half deep, and I'm like,
no way.
so I quickly dropped a line with a weight and the float. I was all right, it's in that area, and I'm fighting the demons in my head here. I'm just like, I've lost all this footage, and I've lost the brand new GoPro. So I just dived. Every time I came back, I was like, kind of lose my shit. I'm just, fuck. And then no, regain yourself. And I was like doing minute and a half dives, bit more. I tell you, I was so relaxed because I was down there and I had to be relaxed.
Yeah.
It kind of brought the old sea urchin diver out in me of just like, you have to do this, just stay calm. And my dive time went from like a minute to a minute and a half to minute 45.
Really? Yeah.
And then eventually I like parted the kelp and I just seen the handle. I'm like, no, that can't be it. Like, I'm just seeing this, and I picked up. I'm like, holy shit! And I swam back up with it, and I'm like, actual praying, like, and I'm like, I can't believe I found it.
That's awesome, man.
It was a good like 45 minutes, hour of just diving one bit.
Yeah, sweet, man.
But yeah, a lot of people filming sevens and sixes still.
Yeah.
I've seen people are thinking.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people using the older GoPros, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. It does the job and does the job well, to be fair. So clearly, because your videos are pretty good on YouTube anyway. So so I saw you do some freelance photography as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get out with the camera as much as possible, but trying to do all the filming and everything, I always get so much, but I don't broadcast it. Or
Right.
I've got all these pictures. What do I do with them? And I don't have time to just flat out put them on Instagram or what kind of thing do I do with them? So that's maybe why I went more to the filming side of things.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
But I still love getting those pictures. It's just having the time to go through it, basically.
Fair enough. And you were saying earlier about like your YouTube channel like starting to like pick up a bit, and you've got, was it like over 1,000 subscribers?
So I've just got over 1,000, and it's a hell of a thing because I never knew that would happen, but it's a good feeling, that it's going up. So people start to like my content, and I'm doing it right, and I'm getting good comments and stuff like that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it keeps going up. I mean, I'm gonna keep posting content because I love it, but
sweet. Because
hopefully it keeps going up.
You started doing them. I saw in lockdown. Is that right? Or just before?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a fair bit before lockdown, but I remember I probably started doing them a lot more when I had the time to edit.
Right. Yeah.
And in lockdown, I mean, I was still working through lockdown.
Yeah.
Because of the fish farms were, for food, basically. I worked for the food industry.
Yeah.
As a diver for the maintenance of the fish farm. So I was pretty lucky then, but I also had the time. I live like out my windows just to see. So I'd go dive for lobsters at night or this or that. And
yeah, cool, man. Yeah, that's epic. Have you got any tips or tricks for people that are like looking to start up YouTube and sort of grow their YouTube if they are currently pushing content out? Is there anything particular that you can think of?
Just be yourself and kind of just keep going at it, and don't get disheartened by if it's going up or down or this, because I find myself sometimes looking, I was like, damn it, I've just lost a subscriber. Why have I lost a subscriber? I don't unsubscribe to stuff. But then that's just life. And I spoke to Arian about this, and it could just be people's accounts have went inactive or something, or don't think about it too much. Remember why you do it. I do it because I love it. It's just so happened that people are actually enjoying them, and it's going further. And just kind of ride the wave, just enjoy it and do it because you enjoy it. And I still make my videos how I want them. I know, like, I can look at the analytics and see if people aren't watching, or see when they nod off or this or that. And maybe I'd get more successful doing it to how YouTube says it should be, but I want it the way I want it, if you know what I mean. So kind of just I stay true to myself, and I kind of recommend that to other people that if they want to do it, people will watch you for who you are and if they want to. And if you're in YouTube to just get famous and do YouTube, then follow all the other trends to be a YouTuber. there's some weird trends going out there, like eating food really loudly into microphone, and they're getting hundreds of millions of views. You know.
Yeah. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more, dude. To be honest, you just got to do it for the sake that you love it, haven't you? You know, and then
Yeah.
everything else follows. I think, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like I put a stupid amount of effort into my videos, and I've had comments and stuff that make me feel that it has come across. You know, I work a crazy job where I'll do a 14-hour day. I'll come home, do a workout, you know, feed myself, shower, and then I'm straight on the computer for 2-3 hours, and then I'm straight to sleep because I've got a whole another day's work to go.
Yeah.
And like I'm doing that nearly every day of the week, and you know, I could spend hours finding the right music because I want the right song to the right bit of footage, and I don't just like throwing it together. And it doesn't always work out the exact way you want it.
Yeah.
So like, it's nice that people also respect that, and that's when I'm always like, I've got so much editing to do. I've got so much editing to do. I don't have to do it. I don't have to get it out there, but I do it because I love it. You know, and I want to get them out. You know, as I'm doing well now, I want to keep going, you know, and the thing that keeps me going as well, like I've just filmed the whole load of footage on the weekend. I was like, I want to edit that. I bumped into a basking shark and stuff like that, and it was insane.
Yeah.
So now I've got all this footage of just like, fuck, you know, I want to edit that straight away. But in my head, I was like, no, go by the book. You know, you've got all last week's to do. So that's what also motivates me.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like people just don't realize what goes into it, and I think if they knew, they'd be pretty surprised, you know. But again, it's just a love, like it's just the love of it that we do it. That's the reason why we push out content. Moving on a bit then from like obviously YouTube and everything else. Talking more about yourself. Are you a sponsored diver then, or?
So yeah, I got sponsored last year by Spearfishing UK.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm good friends with all the lads there, and even better now that I, you know, hammer them every day on the phone for like, I want this, can you do this? And but it's just like it's a community as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice being recognized that all my efforts of I don't exactly see myself as like this big amazing diver, and I don't think of myself with a big ego and all this, but it's nice thinking that my passion has been noticed, and like, you know, do you want to sponsor? Can we sponsor you and stuff like that? And it's nice, but I like it because I'm using the gear that I would be using, you know, and there's no better people to speak to than the ones that are selling it. And now I've got that direct connection.
Yeah.
But also I love having it because other people speak to me and I can help them out a lot more by saying, look, I just speak to these guys.
Yeah.
Because you have a good relationship with them. You just throw people to them. I don't know if that sounds bad or not, but
well, it's the way it works, you know. Like obviously, I don't think anyone's under any sort of illusions when we say like, you know, we're sponsored or you're sponsored, and you know, you get sponsored for obviously being who you are. Like you're pushing content out, you're doing it because you love it, and obviously people follow you. So, and it's natural that if someone follows you, they're going to be asking questions, they're going to be looking at your gear, and they want to know where. And if that's the gear that you would use, like by all means, go for it. Like 100% back that. It does get a little bit grey where people like divers will use gear that they wouldn't use, and they just use it because it's for free, for example.
Yeah.
You know,
and I nearly got into that stuff with some other people, and you know, I love the gear, and I 100% would have loved to dive through it, but I wouldn't go out and buy that necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I know the stuff I'd buy from Spearfishing UK, and maybe it's not Spearfishing UK, like they don't have everything that I would use, but like they've got a lot of stuff I dived with in New Zealand and I worked in. So like, you know, I had blood, sweat and tears and Ruku fins, and I've still got them through there with hundreds of thousands of sea urchin spines in them. I've still got the same wetsuit that's got sea urchin spines in it. And to me, like, I like the gear that I've used in the past, and just so happens that they offered me the sponsorship and they sell all that gear, and you know, obviously I'm gonna say yes. Like,
well, it's tried and tested, isn't it? So you know it works. But no, that's really cool. I really like all the lads down there. I actually visited down there when I was in Cornwall, so really good bunch of lads, and shops like pretty epic. It's just quite a scene to walk into.
I've told them they need to get some accommodation, and they just need to get a whole area, like a lounge area as well, with coffee machines or a bar tap, some sofas, and just a TV like playing
Souls
from the
Untapped.
shop. Yeah, if they want to play that, they can play that. But like that could be, that's the great thing, like, because we dive for them and there's a few other people sponsored by them, like we're filming the gear that people want to use. And I'm so happy to say, like, if this gear is shit or not, and I'll say it straight to Spearfishing UK's face, because they've kind of asked me to do that as well. And I'm not going to beat about the bush and be like, hey, you should definitely buy this stuff because it's the best. If it's not, and I have amazing stuff that, like, Spearfishing UK sell Rob Allen's, and I must admit, like, they're, to me, one of the best guns out there, but they're not at the top of the range. If you're a first spear fisherman and you want a reliable gun, my first ever spear gun was a Rob Allen. And that's lived in the back of my pickup, under my pickup for a week, like in the bush, and it doesn't get treated nice, and it's still going, still the original spear, everything like that. But it's not exactly your beautiful work of art that you maybe would get with a the Orca or something like that, the carbon gun and stuff like that. And it's depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah, of course it is.
Basically,
it just does depend. I mean, like, I've just started recently using C4 Gladius, which is like full carbon gun, and that is something that I would never ever have touched when I was a newbie, and it's for obvious reasons without having to go into it. But as you say, like, there's plenty of guns and stuff that they sell that is absolutely fine for a newbie, and Rob Allen stuff does last a lifetime. I mean, my first gun was Rob Allen as well, to be fair. So, but no, it's cool. I really like I really like the shop. My only sort of critique really is like the same as you. Like, I wish I had a lounge area where you could just chill out and socialize.
I'd go live on the couch for a couple of weeks. I need off the rock, down the road. And do you know what? It hopefully it grows to be that sort of place, because it's, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of politics down there, I feel, but spearfishing, and it's a huge community, and to have little hubs like that, I think is just great, because, like, if people are interested to come spearfishing down the road, and they'll ask, I get asked all the time about West Coast of Scotland and North Coast of Scotland, and it's like, it's not really my domain. I've been there, but I'll hand them over to Arian or Sean Rowan, Hyde Spear Rowan, stuff like that. And it's the same for people who will ask Spearfishing UK or the boys on the shop. I was like, imagine if they had some accommodation or a lounge area or a hub. It does better for what we do. It boosts our little ecosystem in the spearfishing world that's going on, and that's what I love, basically.
That's fair enough, man. And
it's huge potential, but you know what, it's hard to do stuff like that.
Oh, massively. Are you, so do you compete diving, or are you like competition diver, or no?
No, I'd like to get into it, but it's one of those things of, where do you start? I tried to go over to the freshwater championships that Arian's just been to in Finland. But I just struggled to get there, basically, and it didn't happen. But I'd love to give it a go. And not necessarily because I want to be holding the trophy or anything like that. I might not like it, but I'd love to give it a go. And it's more the people you'd meet, the stuff you'd learn. Like when I dived in New Zealand, like when I was there, basically the Herbs went away to, I think it was Greece or somewhere. The championship was held one year or something like that, and they all went away, basically, and I stayed in New Zealand, keeping the company, doing the normal diving for them and stuff like that. And to me, it was just mega. They all went over there as a big team, and they're diving as a team. So I'd love to be involved in that. Even to do some fun competitions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, overseas, like, the competitions are crazy. Like, they're something quite serious compared to what we have here. That's for sure. But Yeah, the reason I ask is I just like to get everyone's opinion on competition diving. I guess it's not for everyone, obviously, and for me, like, because I am a competition diver, but for me, it's not again about glory and holding the trophy and everything else. I mean, it's nice to have
Yeah,
a bit of friendly competition between your close friends,
yeah,
and but the piss taking that comes with it and everything else. So
yeah,
it's good. It's a good laugh, but when it comes to like competition diving, I find that your skills get honed in a lot quicker
yeah. I
because
mean, if you're still like you're going there, you're gonna want to win, aren't you? So you're gonna do
yeah,
everything
yeah,
possible to win, but to get to that, you have to hone your skills. That's what's making you a better diver. And like, I don't like the idea of divers going there to be like, hey, look, I'm the best spearfisherman in the world. You know, look at all the
yeah,
competitions I won. It was like a lot of the time, these guys that get asked to go are there because they've been spearfishing for years and they're just shit hot. And
hmm
they're obviously going to get picked to go and compete for their country.
hmm
You know, it's not because somebody's just shot the biggest trophy fish at the
yeah,
end of the day. And that, you know, I guess that's humble people and not humble people. And that's where the competition can bring the worst out in people. But I don't always see that in the world of spearfishing. It's
hmm
not necessarily that thing. And you're right, it is to hone your skills, because if you want to be good and you want to win a competition, you have to, and because you're going to a brand new place, you've got a week, is it? A lot of places. I know in Finland, like they had
uh,
near enough a
yeah.
week to
Well,
scout spots and
yeah, it's different from like every competition really. I'm talking more about the BSA comps, but BSA
oh,
comps,
okay, yeah.
BSA comps, you tend to get like, well, you can go scout the ground all the way up until a week of the competition, and then
Yeah.
thereafterwards you kind of can't do that anymore. But the interesting thing is, I actually got a little bit of shit from people because I in the first BSA national this year, I actually shot a wrasse because it was allowed in the comp. And
Yeah.
I know that Anthony likes to eat them, right? So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, well, if I see one that's big enough, like he can actually make a
Yeah.
meal of, and it's in the
Yeah.
comp, then I'm taking it, and he can have it, right? Because I'm not going to eat it,
Yeah.
but he will, so it's going to be used. And so I shot one, got a bit of flack for it, and I just thought afterwards, I was like, do you know what, like these people that give me flack, fair enough, they're not into competition diving, and they just see me shooting a ass, and they're like they hate it, and I understand that, but at the same time it's about like they don't understand how difficult it is to shoot a wrasse in a competition, because when you got 50 divers trying to hunt that wrasse, it doesn't want to hang
Yeah.
about, you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it becomes just as elusive as any other fish. So
I mean,
yeah,
that sort of thing anyway, like out of the competition, there's a huge thing on shooting wrasse. Now,
yeah,
I get it, and I see wrasse as reef keepers, you know what I mean? Like they look after the reef, they're in amongst it all. They take 30 years to grow that size, whereas a pollock could take 2 years, you know?
mm-hmm.
And there's actually a shitload of wrasse in Shetland. Like I could just go plonk them all day long.
Yeah,
But I very rarely do that. But that doesn't mean I won't shoot them. Like
mm-hmm.
I've started shooting more because I've learned to cook them in different ways. So
Yeah,
uh, I was down the road with some guys, Dean and a few boys from Spearfishing UK, and Dean was basically like, "You shoot a wrasse, I'll make some wrasse ceviche," and I'm like, "I've never had that before. Fuck it!" Like, so I went, and there's loads of wrasse about, and there was a few with I could see the lice on them, and I
really,
waited
yeah,
and I waited, and I was like, "Oh, that's a nice one. Oof, got it." And I've actually put it in one of my episodes. Like, I don't care, but I've maybe shot 3 wrasse in all the years I've been spearfishing,
yeah,
and like, so depending what you do with it, if you just don't throw it away, it's like any fish. Um, as long as you eat it and treat it the same, and you don't go and just basically rape the whole reef of them.
yep,
Uh, what's the difference? If you understand it, if you understand that these fish don't just recreate with a click of the fingers, you know, they take years to grow
mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Why can't you shoot them? If you're allowed to shoot them, you should be able to shoot them. I'm not saying that because I go and shoot a shitload of them. I don't, but I don't give people shit for shooting them. When I take friends out and shoot their first fish, like I took a mate out recently, he shot his first wrasse, and he's not going to go dive to 20 meters and shoot his first pollock or this or that, is he? He's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
started. And people sometimes have to learn on these sorts of fish. It doesn't mean they're going to go, well, if the people that teach them right, they're not going to go just wipe all these species out. But you have to start somewhere.
yeah. No,
So
agreed.
like So like, I'm not saying just go shoot wrasse willy nilly. It's not the thing, but I definitely think people shouldn't get as much stick for shooting them. I just think maybe a better understanding should be from shooting them.
Yeah, it's and agreed. And you hit a nail on the head there where you said about like, teaching people the correct way, teaching new divers the right way. I think that's a big part of spearfishing where like if you take someone out for the first time, if you like not necessarily teach, but just show or guide that person in the correct manner,
Yeah.
that's the way that spearfishing becomes better. That's the way it grows.
Yeah.
Because then they'll do the same when they take someone else out. And it just keeps going that way. And that you hit the nail on the head, man. So like it fits in well with like the next question I was going to ask you about, like, because you do a lot of land hunting as well, don't you?
Yeah. Well, as much as I can, yeah.
Yeah. So like, is that the reason you start spearfishing? Is that like all encompassing, just like
Actually,
sustainability or?
I started land hunting when I became a gamekeeper, basically.
Really?
I don't know if everybody knows what a gamekeeper is. They look after a state, they do the pheasants, the deer stalking. I left school at 15, moved out at 15, 16, and worked on a shooting estate.
Awesome.
And so my uncle taught me about bits and pieces of hunting, and then I was like, right, that's what I wanted to do. So I done all my degrees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was looking after an estate at 17 years old, and if I wanted dinner, I'll just go shoot a pigeon, eat that. Shoot rabbits. Fuck it. Wonder what they taste like. So I've kind of grew up doing that, and I've taken clients out and stuff. So I love the hunting, but you're right, it is a lot of sustainability, and I've got the capabilities to go shoot what food I want. And I'm not going to go to Tesco's and buy it. And yes, I still go and get stuff I can't exactly go shoot like a cow or something and have some beef mince every week. If I knew the farmer, maybe he'd let me, but like I'll do other stuff. Like I don't have any deer up here, obviously. Basically our big game sort of thing is geese,
Right. Yeah.
I've learned to cook geese in every single way possible to make it taste less like goose. Sometimes more like goose, usually less. Minced it, made into burgers.
Nice.
I've cooked it just like a beef steak, and it's all about, I love connecting with your food, whether it is spearfishing or hunting. And I get a lot of flack from, strangely, I get more flack from land hunting than underwater hunting.
Oh, really?
What does that say about our society, that it's okay to go shoot a fish in the head, but if I go shoot a deer, suddenly I'm a big bad guy. And there's no difference, but I can tell you exactly where that deer's come from. I can tell you it's had a better life than all the meat in the supermarket. And I've done it all myself, and despite the 3-litre pickup that got me there, it's been pretty economical.
I think a lot of people just become disconnected from the food, and like also disconnected from animal types. So like if like a vegan or whatever, maybe vegans are wrong, like maybe just an ordinary person sees a picture of a dead fish, they're quite disconnected from a fish. So to them, it doesn't like bring up any emotions. But then when they see like a deer or something like that, like something that they're emotionally connected to because they got read Bambi as a kid or something, all of a sudden, it evokes emotions.
It's just I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Like, everybody's different. I love animals to bits. I'll happily go shoot them with a camera instead of a gun. But at the end of the day, I kind of want to eat. And if I shoot, like I used to, when the laws didn't change, I would go up on the hills and shoot mountain hares. And it was perfectly legal and all this. And I got a load of stick, but I'd shoot maybe 2 a month, and up in Shetland, there were a hell of a lot of hares. And I'd always go in the right season and I'd shoot them in their winter coat and their beautiful white. And so I wouldn't just keep the meat, I'd keep everything apart from the bones, basically, in the guts, and I'd tan the hair skins and stuff. So I don't know what I'm doing there. They're on the end of my bed, basically, instead of deer skin, because I've no deer here. But like, to me, that's almost showing respect by using everything as possible. I'm not a proud hunter saying, look at this trophy I've got. I'm more like, that tells a story to me. That it's not just stopped at pulling a trigger and taking a picture. I've fed my friends with it. I show them what this animal's about and all this, and we can't hunt them anymore. So actually, it's almost like a little bit of history as well. But it is crazy that people are disconnected from shooting a fish sort of thing to shooting a deer or this or that. And I wouldn't say it angers me, but it definitely, it winds you up sometimes.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like a good reason why I do the podcast and probably why you push content out, because it shows people what we do and like gives them a good idea of like the sustainability behind it. And I think it's a good learning curve for a lot of people, to become associated with their food again.
Yeah, well, I think the best way to educate people in what we do is through the food. We all have, what do we all have in common? We eat food.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the people shoot fish and cook their own meal, are more in touch with their food and everything that's going on. And like one thing is that, when you shoot a big pollock or this or that, and they sometimes have worms in the belly. I mean, I know that the big bass do as well.
Yeah.
So I bet you every person who buys fish from the supermarket would never ever envision, worms in their fish. I mean, you obviously don't get that in the supermarket.
Yeah.
But they don't see that. They don't know where that fish has come from necessarily.
Yeah.
And they don't know what state it's in. And they'd see the fish that we shot. If we said, "Oh, look, this fish had some worms," and they're like, "Oh, that's absolutely disgusting." It's like, I had fish last week and it was perfectly fine. I was like, "Yeah, but you've seen it like as an end product."
Yeah.
And like we're shooting fish that the commercial boys are still technically catching and putting into consumption.
Yeah.
And I just think it is just that lack of education. And what I like to do is I need to do more cooking episodes and stuff, because I love cooking. I'm no professional. I make it up on the spot, but I love doing it with what I've caught. And that's, I think, is the best way to get through to public or people that are, up and down on hunting, killing and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's what's been going on for years and years and years.
Yeah, listen, man. Any food that you catch yourself and then cook tastes 10 times better than bought from the shop. That's my opinion.
Even if you cremate it on the barbecue,
yeah, for sure. So so what's the community like then up in Shetland? Is there quite a lot of Spearos up there, or?
There's a few boys that do some free diving and maybe a couple bits of spearfish now and then, but I've struggled to get in with them. Shetland's a small place, if you know what I mean. So
right.
I don't know. It's been a bit weird. Of like, I'm open arms. I want to meet people. I want dive buddies, because look at me. I'm going out by myself, and I don't necessarily like doing it, but it's what I have to do, unfortunately, at the minute, if I want to go out. And I kind of just got a bit of shunned away, if you know what I mean. And I don't know why that is. I was going out and I was shooting fish and making these videos and all this, and I'm not that sort of person that would do stuff like that to rub stuff in faces and all that. Like, I want to bring people in. I want to take people out. I'm even training people up that have never dived before to come out with me. Because it's great out there, and I want to spend it with people and learn and stuff like that. But it's in all small places, not necessarily Shetland, and even little areas around the UK. As you'll know, it can be quite cliquey and stuff like that. And so I've maybe struggled in that context, and I've just kind of not reached out to a few people again.
Yeah, but, I mean, the amount of divers that we've had on the podcast that dive by themselves is, I can't say much because I dive a lot alone as well. But even though I've got the lads down here, it just trying to get times off together and
that was the thing. Like, it was, I was always trying to get out with a lot of people, and my work hours was just stupid. You know what I mean? I can never. I'm on call 24/7. So if I had if a boat got wrapped up and I got a call, I'd have to go.
Right. Okay.
So I can't exactly promise saying, "Oh yeah, I'll be there at 6:30" when I'm stuck on a bloody fish farm at 6:30. So that we never crossed paths, and it just never happened, sort of thing. So there was never like bad blood or anything like that. And I'd always try, and then suddenly it was just loss of contact. And I was like, well, if the only way I'm going to get out and do this is by myself. As I've basically considered myself as a lone wolf up here from then on, because I've put a lot of effort into trying to get out with people, and if it's not reciprocated, it just exhausts you. So I'd rather put that energy into me going out. It just means I'm not diving as deep as I'd like, or even if I'm diving deep, I'm not pushing it, or if I'm, it's that sort of thing. And even if you are out yourself, you're always a bit on edge. Like I went out the other day, I boat by myself, and I was in offshore pinnacles, and like you're talking a fair few miles out, like, and 50 meters everywhere apart from the one bit I'm on that's 10 meters and there's a big old wreck on it. And I was just on my little Thundercat and trying to chase a ling, and I was like, couldn't find ling, so I just ended up shooting pollock. But like my diving capabilities, I could have pushed it a lot more there, but I just couldn't. In your head, you just can't. And that day I ended up bumping into a basking shark on the way back, and I'm just like, holy shit, like, what do I do? I'm in 50 meters of water. I can't anchor my boat up. I have no one. Like, right, fuck it, this is a once in a lifetime. So I just kind of dressed up, sat on the back of my boat, the engine just ticking over, so it was barely moving. And I didn't go close to it, and I just kind of got, maybe 100 yards off, a little bit less. And I just killed the engine. I just waited, and then eventually it's like coming towards me. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, well, I can't anchor the boat off. I was like, fuck it, there's barely no wind. So I just jumped in. Next thing I know, this thing was hurtling straight towards me. I was like, I didn't want to swim at it or go too close to the boat, because you know what people get like. So I'm very well aware of that sort of thing. And it turns out it didn't matter, because this thing just came straight at me like a Jaws film. I'm like, fuck. And my boat's 4 meters and it just dwarfed it. So I'm like thinking, holy crap, I'm looking about, there's no one about. Looking down, and I had like 50-meter viz. There was no seabed, obviously, and I'm just like, fuck, this big thing just started cruising around me. Like, my heart was racing, but I'm so glad I did it. And like I said, I didn't push it, so I managed to get some good footage. I didn't really chase it about because I didn't want to pressurize it, and then I just got back on the boat and done some droning of it. But it's situations like that, if I had a buddy, it'd be so much cooler sharing it with them, but I wouldn't have to think about the boat getting swept to Norway and me being all by myself in the sea.
that sounds epic, man. That's really cool.
So
and I know what you mean. It's so difficult. But a lot, what they say though, the best buddies are the ones that you train up yourself anyway. So, and
I'm doing well. I've got a good mate, Murray Arthur. He's at the beginning of this year, he was terrified of getting to sea. He had a near drowning experience when he was younger on like the little dinghies, sailing about, dragged under basically by a bit of rope and fucking up, would never go near water. And I took him out on a Thundercat. I was like, right, here you go, mask on, just fall off the back of the boat and go. And in my head, I was just like, not thinking about it because I do it every day. And then that night, I was just like, holy shit, like this guy was petrified. And he just went, threw himself in backwards and off he went.
Fair play.
And ever since then, he's got so much better. Now he's beat the fear. It's just go. And he's struggling with his sinuses and his ears because his body's never done this before. And he's damaged his ear a little bit recently, but he's just frothing to get back in, which is it's just great,
Yeah, it's awesome.
So hopefully he keeps on growing and I can get into some fish. And like I say, I'm gonna plunk him with some good wrasse spots, because you have to learn. Sometimes it's not like down the road where you can go out in the shallows and shoot a 3 kilo bass. Unfortunately,
yeah, of course. So before we run out of time, you got any funny stories for us? Funny or scary, I'll take anyone.
Diving in New Zealand was a lot of emotional stuff. So like, when you go through hunger stages and you get hangry, and because we weren't eating, like I said, we'll just pop some stomach pills, keep the stomach acid down. And like, when you're starting to go crazy and you're like, fuck, voices in my head and all this shit. And I'm like, I'm getting so mad and all that. And it's like, the only way I found to break that cycle was just be a total twat in the water. So I'd go down and I'd just hide in the kelp. I'd hide in this long kelp and wait for my supervisor to dive down and he'd start working away. When it just clocked me like that, and then me mouth fully open, just like chewing on a massive balls of seaweed and kelp. And he would just like burst up, bubbles just going everywhere and shaking his head. And I'd have to go back to surface. And I'm like, yeah, if you're ever in like bad head spaces in the water, just act like a twat. Just blow bubbles and
just let out a bit.
We used to like, you know when you like thump the water with your hand like that and cavitate it.
Yeah.
We used to do that to each other all the time, like, and you'd be zoning out. You know when you're purely zoned out in a dive,
Yeah.
you're just about to hit the surface. We'd just go like that, you know, and you'd proper khaki pants, like wash your wetsuit style.
Yeah. It's all about the crack of
Um,
when you're diving with other people, man. That's what it's all about.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
scary
awesome.
stories. I mean, like I've done nearly shallow water blackouts and stuff. A lot of that was in New Zealand doing deep stuff, working dives, you know. And I remember I've never had a full on blackout, but I remember hitting the surface, and they say like obviously your limbs go first, and then you get to the tunnel vision. And I
Yeah.
remember just like cinema curtains just coming and just seeing only dead ahead of me. That's all I could see was just like that. I was
Right.
like, hit the surface, like, I'm gonna fucking faint. They're all in the boat, and then they just start looking at me, and I was like, thankfully I got the air. And I was like, wait, I'm okay. But like, I remember it clear as day, and it was just, I just
Yeah,
clocked all the
scary, man.
symptoms, and because I didn't actually black out, I think I can remember them a lot more.
Bloody hell,
But
that's some scary shit, man. It's
good learning curves.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, you know. We always hope that if anything like that's going to happen to us, it happens when we're around people, because I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine that happening like when I'm by myself. It's you know, we had
yeah,
Matt Newman on the podcast as our first
yeah,
guest, and he passed out in the water when he was by himself, and luckily he had one arm wrapped around his boy at the time. So, you know, can you imagine what would have happened otherwise? You know, it's scary, man.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and like the other day, I shot my biggest pollock, 11-pound pollock, and used my little homemade 90 that I had. And I actually had another pollock just wrapped up around the end of the gun on the bungee. I didn't have
yeah,
a float line. I had a reel. I was like, fuck, I don't need one. I'm not going to exactly shoot a shark here.
yeah,
And I went down and shot this one fish, came back up, tied it to the end of the gun. And I always have my GoPro on a lot of the time on the same hand I use the gun.
yeah,
And went down and I looked over my shoulder, and fuck, you know, this pollock came out, poof, managed to get it, and it just went wild. Like, I was like, right, get to the surface. I forgot to slacken the reel off, and I tried to let go of the gun just to change hand, and I couldn't. So it wasn't like I was completely stuck and couldn't move. It was just a little bit of like, oh shit, like I can't move this hand. Why can't I move this hand?
yeah,
And I was like, just started ripping the line off the reel like that. And I wasn't
yeah.
necessarily in crazy panic, but it didn't go smoothly as I wanted. And it was just a bit of like, oh, you know, fuck, you know, prep next time, or don't have a fish on the end of your gun there, or don't have this. And
Just don't
I
get
lifted my head up
complacent.
too quick as well. And my mask nearly pulled off because of the GoPro. And
Yeah,
one thing
man.
I've learned as well is stay calm as you can with everything. Especially like when I have that in commercial diving and I've had loss of air and stuff like that, and training protocols, and because I've kind of had it so frequent that well, I wouldn't say frequent, I've dived a long time, so you know, I've been about when you're running out there on a bottle and stuff like that in the old days, and that not panicking in those situations is what you have to do to survive. If you start panicking, you're going to breathe more, you're going to do this, and
Yeah.
take that to your spearfishing world, because you know, less panic, all this, keep your heart rate down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, some spooky stories.
Crazy, man. Sounds entertaining though. But we're nearly out of time, so we've got 2 listener questions that we'll just hammer out real quick. We'll just do like a real quick round on them. The first one's obviously from someone that you've dived with quite a lot. So is it true your ding dong is too small for a pisset?
Yeah, I mean, I asked to get like another leg sewn on, but they said that wouldn't work. So it was just you know, move and tuck sort of thing.
Yeah, it's obviously I
So
guess
yeah.
I guess it's
who knows?
I guess it's Arian that's taking the piss out of you because you don't have one feed, I guess.
I mean, it could be, yeah. I have said to him, like, next wetsuit I'm getting, I'm definitely getting a pisset.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the next one. So, tips to help a beginner judge sizes when hunting for bass. I mean, that can be like any fish, can it? Really? I mean, you know.
I mean, yeah, unless it's somebody saying I've shot some small bass, but I struggle with. I've let a lot of fish go that you could shoot, because I don't want to shoot too small sizes, and that was drilled into me in New Zealand, because out there it's so strict. Like, you get done big time if you shoot a fish that's too small.
Yeah.
So the way I see it, if you see a fish and you're just like, holy shit, poof. Whereas if you question it, don't shoot it a lot of the time. Until you'll have these times you'll shoot a too small one or this or that. You're going to learn, you're eating it anyway, but obviously don't take the piss. Don't go out to shoot small ones, and you make mistakes and stuff like that happens. But if you see it and you're like, holy fuck, that's a big fish, you're obviously going to pull the trigger. If you kind of second guess yourself, what you're saying, you're obviously saying it's maybe not big enough.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I agree, to be honest. Cheers for coming on the podcast, man. I really enjoyed it, and I think everyone else is going to get a lot out of it. So that's really cool. Cheers, dude.
Yeah, no worries. It's been good fun.
Sweet. Cheers, dude. Catch you later, man. Well, that was a great episode. Josh is a really cool guy. He's got some really cool stories. It sounds like the spearfishing in Shetland is quite difficult, but also quite rewarding, I think. So that's really cool. It was a good episode. I'm sorry the lads couldn't be here to host it with me, unfortunately. Really missed them on this one. It's always a good crack having the lads on the episodes with me. What have we got coming up? So October is actually quite busy. It's full of national competitions, local regionalised competitions, and it's going to be quite a good month. So there's a lot of content coming your way. Look out for our Instagram page as well as Facebook. And yeah, we've got some very large, popular, well-known spearers that have agreed to come on the podcast. So that's quite cool. We won't say who yet, but they are, some of the best around, and we're really looking forward to getting into it with them and just getting you guys all the information that we can get out of them. So that's going to be really cool. The one little cool fact for this episode is that we have someone who listened to the last episode from Peru. Now, I was saying to the lads, that's quite interesting. I don't know who the hell is in Peru that's listening to us three, but that's really cool. What would be cool is if you are the person that listens to us in Peru, can you please reach out? Because I'd love to hear from you. That's quite cool. You can find us on Instagram. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're looking forward to getting some more up for you soon. Take care. Bye.